Hey, y'all, and welcome to the Brain Dump with me, Sandy Boone. Today's episode is about regulated, not numb, caring in a world that feels like it's on fire. Today, I'm going to start with a few questions. What if your nervous system isn't fragile? It's just overwhelmed. What if you're not too sensitive? You're living in a time where the input never stops. The world feels really loud right now. We've got war, politics, climate disasters, economic strain, cultural fragmentation, and that's not even considering the things that we've got going on in our personal lives, right? So when someone says, just regulate your nervous system, it can feel almost insulting. Today, we're going to talk about the difference between regulation and numbness. The goal here isn't to stop caring, and it's not to stop advocating, and it's not about not showing up. The goal is to care without the collapse. So I want to start by saying your nervous system is responding to real stimuli. It's not malfunctioning, it's responding to real information. Humans evolved over time for localized danger. Let's go out, let's get dinner. And by going out and getting dinner, I mean hunting it. And then we're going to come back to our nice cave and we're going to sleep. We did not evolve for 24/7 global crisis exposure. Your nervous system is built for an acute threat. Mobilize, resolve it, complete it. And what we're living in now is chronic exposure without resolution. There's no completion. And often what we find ourselves in is chronic exposure and then more exposure and then more exposure. So I'd like to point out that activation is not the same as engagement. Activation feels like urgency, scanning, tightness, reactivity. Engagement feels like clarity, intentional action, and choice. Calm is not indifference, and regulation is not apathy. When we regulate, you can choose your response. Helpers feel this more. We absorb client trauma, societal grief, and systemic injustice. We have personal stresses and professional exposure and global instability and digital saturation. And now we have this stacked experience that becomes overwhelming really quickly. And again, we're not getting that completion. You cannot co-regulate the world. Your nervous system is not designed to metabolize the suffering of billions of people. When activation feels constant, and I think for all of us, it does, the system will seek relief through shutdown, distraction, or detachment. We will find ourselves with a migraine headache that lasts for days. We will find ourselves totally absorbed in a book instead of doing the things we need to do that make our life easier to live. We will detach. We will pull back from those that we love. Numbness is not regulation, it is collapse. True regulation allows us to feel without flooding. And again, I think we'd all agree that we're pretty flooded right now. Containment means limiting news windows, avoiding crisis content before sleep, moving your body after heavy exposure, and distinguishing between what you can influence and what you cannot. What this looks like for me, and again, I am not perfect in this. It's just what I've realized. I have not slept well the last couple of nights. We've got a full moon, and so I suspect that plays into it some. There's been a lot going on in the world. For reference, by the time you listen to this podcast, who knows where we'll be. But I found myself awake at 4 o'clock in the morning the night before last. And then last night, I found myself awake at 1:30. And so last night I was like, I have got to get sleep. I was feeling the dysregulation. I was feeling the fatigue. I was feeling the disconnection. I had very much detached from my husband. I had detached from my family. My body was screaming for rest. And so last night I decided to add a supplement that would provide some cortisol support. And I also decided to listen to bilateral music last night. And like before you come at me with EMFs and exposure to the things, it was a means to an end. So I put in some binaural music last night and I listened to that all night long. What did that look like? It looked like me waking up feeling refreshed today. I have gotten sleep. I am rested. I was ready to take on the day. And so trying to figure out what that looks like and what that looks like for you, we have to find those things. We also have to know that what we do doesn't always work. So I certainly have things in place that support me on the daily basis, but I needed a little extra and I had a plan for something else. I am going to drop the links of what I added to my routine last night so that you can try it out and see if it works. I did a cortisol support that had some mushrooms in it from Charlotte's Web. I did the music. I can share the Spotify list with you so that you've got that. And I can share with you the headphones that I use when I choose to listen to music at night while I sleep. After consuming something activating, stand up, orient to your space, move, complete the stress cycle. Limit that news that you're consuming. I get an email every day from something called 1440. It gives me a one-line blurb about what's happening in the world so that I'm able to contain my response when clients are sitting in front of me. I'll share that in the links as well. If it's not actionable right now, you do not need to metabolize in this moment. So it really doesn't matter at the end of the day if you're metabolizing it in the morning or if you're metabolizing it in the evening. If it doesn't require action, it doesn't have to be done right now. So work with timeframes on things. Again, the goal is not to calm down so you stop caring. That's not who you are as a healer. The goal is to increase the capacity so that you can stay engaged longer. Regulation allows you to care longer. A regulated nervous system is sustainable. And how do we get that regulated nervous system? Sometimes it's very practical things, like I said, listening to music while you sleep. Sometimes it's devices such as the alpha stim. Sometimes it's engaging in neurofeedback. This can look a lot of different ways, and it's really important that you find what works for you and not the unicorn and Skittles self-care. In closing, what have you been trying to metabolize that was never yours to carry alone? Even when we don't like people, the human body and brain are built for connection. Where are you consuming input without completion? What would it look like to care deeply without living in chronic activation? You are not weak for feeling overwhelmed. You are human. Regulation is about staying steady enough to remain present. You have to figure out how regulation works in your nervous system. Thanks for listening to the Brain Dump. I'm glad you're here, and I hope this was helpful for you. I'll see you next time.